Welcome into a Monday edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside professional handicapper Albert Nguyen, also known as Analytics Capper, as we get this work week started. Pretty reduced sports calendar, all things considered, but we have two games in the W, which is pretty rare for a Monday in this league. And we also have Summer League to get to. How are you, man? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so
No
basically a
worries.
great weekend of sports. I think everybody enjoyed Wimbledon, obviously, WNBA and NBA Summer League. But even though it's slow this week, I'm looking forward to it because the Summer League is going to get a little more serious, if you will, as they get into tournament play.
Yeah, definitely some wild action over the weekend. And there's some reports that surface you always got to keep paying attention to, like I alluded to the other day. And sure enough, yesterday it was official. Cooper Flag is being shut down after 2 games of action in the Summer League. And you mentioned some of the better teams. The cream will rise to the top, so to speak. So interesting betting angles across the board. And the W have some interesting games. And I think this is really compelling, and we see this in the NBA as well. As we turn the page, is you have teams that play each other, and then they run it back. Sometimes they do a home and home. Sometimes it's a 2-game series, if you will, like baseball. And I always think it presents an interesting angle. And I've dug deep into it. I've had others do it as well. And there's really no um, uniform sort of trend, if you will, where like, oh, if the first game goes over, the rematch goes under, or if the underdog wins outright. It's really a tricky handicap across the board because there's so many other variables that accounted for that result. But you and I were both on the over in the Minnesota Sky game on Saturday. That flew over with ease. I think it was over at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But then the scoring slowed down. So we got there. It was 168 was the final, but the Sky upset the Lynx as 11.5-point home dogs. They're running it back tonight, 10.5, same over under. Same over under. What do you make of that?
Yeah, from a betting perspective, I do lean the over as well in this game, Doug. I'm not going to make an official play because it's a little fishy, right? You mentioned it that especially in that first half, they were scoring buckets left and right. Both teams were hitting threes. It slowed down a ton in the second half, but the over, went over by almost 10 points. And so the fact that the total is set at the same number is a little scary for me, if you will, from a betting perspective. So I'm going to lay off of it. I do think, like Courtney Williams, who was only 5 for 15 in that game on Saturday, ended up with 13 points. I do think she's going to have a great bounce back game in this one. She was getting all of her shots. They just weren't falling in. 5 for 15 from the floor, 1 for 5 from 3. And I think there's going to be a little regression there. So I think her points prop is set at 14.5. I lean the over in that one as well. So it's correlated. The full game total over as well as Courtney Williams over.
You extract anything like a first half over? Because I'm about to pull the trigger on first half over 82.5.
It would make a lot of sense because we saw it on Saturday. Their first half was on fire. It was basically like 100 points there. Chicago, and Doug has been really good at identifying this in the last few weeks, is the offense has completely changed. They started the year, grind it out, slow it down, half court. Now they're running a lot more, and they're involving, Angel Reese in the high post so that she can not only play make, but she can do a lot more, like, set the offense. But also we saw her do 3 or 4 crossovers in a row and then hit a step back jumper on Saturday. Like, that's amazing, just to get the most talented player on your team, the rock, a lot more often. So the offense for Chicago has definitely turned a corner. It's playing a lot quicker, and you would expect Minnesota, coming off a loss, to really bounce back from a shooting perspective as well. So the first half over makes a lot of sense to me. I'm probably going to pull the trigger by the time game time does arrive, but right now it's just a strong lean. It's something where you and I continue to talk through.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing, is we're talking it through, because this Minnesota team is really good, right? And question is, do they respond? And I touched on this a week ago. By the way, the Sky have covered the spread in 8 straight games, as you can find on the website, Bet River. So that's something to have in the back of your mind. You mentioned the adjustment in what they do offensively. That's coincided with a nice push, a nice surge in the backing of the point spread. By the way, I want to remind everyone that we are over 10,000 subscribers here on the Bet Rivers Network and Betting Weekly Umbrella. I want to just continue to subscribe and like. We really appreciate it when you do. It really helps us out across the board. So continue to do that for this free content, and that really helps out all parties involved, and we can continue to pump out some good discussions like the one we're having. So Cardoso has come back. She played well on Saturday. I'm a little annoyed because it slows down their pace, but obviously when she's on the block offensively, she's a good weapon. Obviously, she's skilled at 6'7", can put the ball in the hoop. I will say a lot went right for the Sky in the first half, but you're also not asking them to make every shot. We don't need to fly over the total. We just need to get to 83 points. And I think we do. So I'm going to make that an official play. First half over 82.5. I feel comfortable doing that. That's minus 112 at Bet Rivers right now. And hopefully we can continue the good juju. And we also mentioned this last week with the Sun and Storm, right? The Sun upset the Storm in Connecticut as a plus 1,200 or so on the money line. Then they rematched a few days later, and we said, hey, be careful thinking they're just going to, flip the switch. That was a bad thing. I had the first quarter plus 6, got there on the money line, and I do think the Sky hang around for the first half. So if I were to play this in the half side, I would actually go with the dog here. I do think the Lynx pull away, but I'm not thinking it's like this, huge revenge and they're going to come out guns blazing. It usually takes some time for the cream to rise to the top.
Yeah, it's almost a carbon copy of that angle that you have, right? I mean, Lynx, they're better than Seattle, and then obviously Chicago is better than Connecticut. So it is an upgrade in terms of talent here from both teams. But you mentioned the Sky have covered 7 straight or 8 straight, and 7 of those they were underdogs. So I mean, they are a cover machine as an underdog so far this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to do it. This is not a bad team. Chicago just got off to a really rocky start, and that's trying to integrate new pieces. Vandersloot got hurt. Like, there were so many things that happened with this team in the first month that they finally, again, turned the page there, turned the corner, if you will. And I think they're a solid team, and they're going to be a tough out for anybody. Chicago is a pretty good home court advantage. If you watch the game on Saturday, those fans were really in it. And those moments when they weren't in it, you saw Angel Reese, pumping the crowd up as well. So it was cool to see. I'm definitely not going to touch the side here. I don't think Minnesota, although they are 18-4, Doug, I would love to have this discussion. I think they're a little overrated, and I think the market has overrated this team because, even though they're 18-4, they're somewhat of a limited team. Obviously, Fee is amazing, and she's the MVP frontrunner, justifiably so. But the rest of the team is limited. They're not quick. They're not athletic. And if they're not getting wide open threes, they're going to be in games where it's going to be more competitive than they expected.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was sort of making the comparisons to when the Spurs, right? The Spurs lost to the Heat with that Ray Allen 3-pointer to extend the series, and then were unable to win. What was it, Game 7? And so the next year, the Spurs did come back and win it all. And so the Lynx are among the favorites now. I think their edge that they had last year was system. Fee's fantastic, but like defense. And I just think that edge and everything has really narrowed because the talent level across the board in the league has improved so much. So I'm with you. I think there's more teams that are contenders. I think it's about 4.5 teams that can win it all. And I would pick them to not. I'll take the field versus the Lynx, right? I said it last week. I don't think they're going to win. But they do. I just don't know if Courtney Williams and McBride are that great. Like, they're good, all-star worthy, but fringe all-stars kind of thing, and then the MVP. So is that a good enough team to beat, I don't know, like Phoenix with 3 legit, all-star starters, if you will? So that's where I wonder. And it's the role players, and just the role players are not that great. Although Atlanta Smith is in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year. I didn't realize that till recently. So good on her. So her and Fee have been excellent. The team, well coached with Reeve. I'm going to take the over first half. Let me ask you this: since Cardoso's return, Angel Reese has gone back-to-back 11 rebound games, not 15 plus. Are you scared away from playing her props? It's 12.5 for rebounds.
I mean, if you look at Angel Reese's last 8 games, I have it in front of me right now. She's averaging 17.6 points a game and then 15.5 rebounds. Like that, I think that rate of rebounding was not sustainable. So I think it's going to help her that Cardoso is back. But to answer your question in terms of isolating the rebound prop, it does make a lot of sense, right? There's only a finite number of potential rebounds every single game, and if the 6'7" center is back and she's going to grab 15 herself like she did on Saturday, then that's going to, eat into Angel Reese. The other thing I wanted to bring up here is Chicago was shooting really well. Like they shot better in that first half. That it was arguably their best half ever, right?
Yeah.
Offensively
Yeah.
of this season. I mean, Ariel Atkins, she ended up with 27, but I think she had like 20 at half. Cardoso 17 and 15. Like these are, like potentially season highs, right? And so I don't know if they can sustain with Minnesota. I agree with you. I like the first quarter, the first half look, but for the full game, the more I think about it, this is more of a Minnesota read to me, and it's not backing Minnesota because I think they're who they are, jump shooting team, and if they get hot, they're going to cover every single game. But this is more fading Chicago's great shooting that we saw early on in that game on Saturday.
Yeah, but because remember, it's an interesting stretch, like we talked about. Before that game, they had the Lynx on the ropes last Sunday, where Minnesota was playing their 5th game in 8 days. Sky had been playing the first game in a week. It was a tight game at half, and just couldn't shake them. But the Lynx did at least get the win. So it was set up for the Sky to be this annoying little brother that the Sky just, the Lynx just had to deal with, one of those things and cover. But then now that they lost, I do think the Lynx might respond. And the shooting stats, like you said, it might have been the Sky's best game or best half all season. And Angel Reese like took Fee to school and backed her down from the top of the key and had a nice baby hook. She was fired up, and I just think the Lynx were pretty flat, all things considered. And Minnesota couldn't score. I mean, 81 points in a game with that much pace is pretty low. Now they did take the lead or went up by 1 or down 1 or something like that, but they still shot under 40% from the field. But the Sky still only made 27% of their threes. They were 4 or 15. So I think the Sky could play a little better. It's just
True.
they were just had more energy and took it to them after being so close in the last game and things like that. The spot was great for the Sky. It's just interesting. Like Minnesota, what? I don't think they went home and came back. It's been hanging around Chicago. I think Cheryl Reeve is super competitive. I think the buttons will be pushed. I like Minnesota's ability to get some points. Question is, will the Sky reciprocate some of the offense they had that you alluded to? Ariel Hawkins didn't miss for a while, but I've been looking at Angel Reese's assists. I mean, she's gotten over 3.5 her prop. I don't know, by halftime in some games. She had 4 the other game. The question is, if they're not scoring at will, then maybe those assists aren't going to be able to duplicate. But she's had some 6 and 7 assist games. So she's a very good passer for a power forward. And now that Cardoso's back, because she does a lot of good big to big passing, and Cardoso's effective when getting the pass down low. It's not like you have to worry about missed layups too much. So I actually like Angels. That's a lean, but the spot, there's a domino effect. If the spot favors Minnesota, you want to be a little reluctant, a little careful with some of the Sky overs on the props.
Yeah, I'm on the Bet River site right now. This same game parlay kind of perked my ears. I would love to hear your thoughts. So Angel Reese over 10 rebounds, Angel Reese over 10 points. So double for Angel Reese. But Fee over 15 points, that seems really easy there. And then Courtney Williams, again, I'm high on heading into this game over 10 points as well. So Fee over 15, Courtney Williams over 10, and then double for Angel Reese.
I like the Courtney Williams. I'm just talking about Reese 10 plus. So it's actually not even over 10. It's 10 plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you need Fee to have 15 plus. Is that what it was?
15 plus, yes.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, plus 135 right now on Bet Rivers.
Okay, so just Angel to have 10 plus boards. Another thing and let me know if you want to make that an official play. Another thing I've been tracking is since her comments, what was it, last Sunday in the loss to the Lynx, she was very vocal about the officiating. And sure enough, in the next game, she got 15 free throws. And I was like, oh, so that's how we're going to do it. But she's only had 5 each of the next 2 games. So I was like, I thought it'd be a nice run. We could bet her over points. So she's gone over her points in 7 straight games, over 14.5 in 7 straight games. So 15 plus. Her offensive game is evolving. It's not, she's not Jokic from, range and everything, but it's getting better. So I was wondering if that's a good, straight wager on the prop.
Angel Reese over points. It's going to be tough for me because I would expect Minnesota, and you mentioned Reeve, good coach. Like they need to make some adjustments. So they've seen Angel Reese now. This is going to be their 3rd time and basically in 2 weeks, right? Like she's killing them. She's killing them both offensively and defensively. And I mentioned that, setting up the offense, they need to do something in terms of defending her. Like they need to make changes. And so I would expect the best team in the league right now, 18-4, to do that, right? And Minnesota, even though I talk about them as a jump shooting team and they take a lot of threes, and McBride, if she's hot, they're basically a cover machine, but they still play really good defense as well. And so I would expect them to make some adjustments here and not let Angel Reese just run all over them. So I don't know if I could get behind the points, but definitely behind rebounds, just because I do know that there's going to be a lot of shots on both sides.
What about the flat spot nature of this? It's a big win against Dallas they had too. That was a coin flip game, and then the big upset. I mean, is this a team that's like trending where it's baseball, where it's hot, or is like, all right, they're going to come back to earth? This reminds me of the Fever, right? They go win the Commissioner's Cup against the Lynx as double-digit dogs. Then they beat the Aces wire to wire, crush them, and then they fall flat on their face. So I just wonder if the gas tank is a little empty before we move on to the next game.
Yeah, you could definitely make that argument, but you can also say the counter to that is Minnesota, right? Their schedule has been crazy the last 2 to 3 weeks, and this is their 4th game on the road. Even though they didn't travel anywhere, they did have to stay on the road in Chicago. I'm looking at their schedule right now. So they're playing Chicago tonight, and then they're back home. So they're back home for a 3-game set. Chicago, who has been home now for a week. Yeah, they're going to play another home game. So in my opinion, if we're talking about rest advantage or disadvantage, I would give Chicago the nod over Minnesota in terms of rest and fatigue.
Okay. So official play for me, first half over 82.5 points. And you want to pull the trigger on the same game parlay by chance? Or are you going to wait on it a little bit?
So you know me, I don't do very many parlays, but let's go ahead and do it. I like all those angles there. I do think Angel Reese is going to get her double-double. I already talked about Courtney Williams having a good bounce-back game. And Fee, this is their 3rd game. I think Nafisa had 21 in the first one and then 27 or something in the second one. So I think 15 is going to be really easy for her. The thing with Nafisa is not only like can she score, I think she had 6 stocks on Saturday, 3 blocks, 3 steals. Like even though it doesn't look like she's running fast or trying hard, she's always around the ball just because she's a great player.
I'm with you. I think it's a really, really solid play. I would maybe I see 9 points I see 9 rebounds more likely than 9 points. So I would actually, if I had to pull one of those back, I would say maybe take off the 10 rebounds for Angel Reese, just because Cardoso, just because it's effort. I do think she'll get her points, which is funny because usually rebounds are so much easier for her, but obviously they come in buckets and free throws and everything. But that would bring it down to minus 105, so plus 135 to minus 105. So that would be one option if you wanted to hold off on that.
Let's do that. Let's do that 3-way.
Okay.
Yeah, 3-leg same game parlay as my official play on this game.
Okay, yeah, we need to get some points, and she's become more of a weapon in that regard. So Ryan Huffman chiming in, saying, he was leaning a certain way. Chicago plus 10.5 and over 161.5, but I'm on my worst cold streak since I started betting. Well, that's not good to hear. So you got to be careful when it gets to that. So sorry to hear that. Maybe the W tonight would get you off the schneid. Hopefully the struggles were in baseball, and you get a nice little break there. Adam Osimo asking about Angel Reese over 14.5 points, which we just discussed. Her PR is set at 27.5. That seems a point or two high. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's going to be right around there. I don't think there's an edge necessarily. So, be careful there. Petey maybe likes a 4-leg same game parlay, goes double doubles, Angel and Fee.
Mm.
I like that. I like the thought process on that. You just go 10-10 for each of them. But I got a little gut feeling that Angel might only have like 9 rebounds, something like that. Again, I think Minnesota is going to have bounce in their step and a lot of loose rebounds, so to speak. So she might be cost her a couple here or there. Very different handicapping situation in the other game tonight, and that is the Mercury visiting the Valkyries. This one was a 1-point spread, flipping, flopping back and forth who was favored. Now it's Valkyries as a 2-point home favorite, over under 158. It doesn't look like Copper or Sabali is going to play for Phoenix. And they've been one of the big, bright stories. They were as high as 30 or 40 to 1 to win this year. Win it all, that is. They're now like in the 7 to 1 range. And the rookies are coming along. Sammy Whitcomb's been fantastic. And obviously, Alyssa Thomas is doing her thing. But the Valkyries are frisky. You and I had them each +2 on the road on Saturday. And they were down about 7 or so late. And we got some back-to-back threes and then a 2-pointer at the buzzer to lose by 2. So we got the push, the push. Advantage push. Shout out Nick Bakay. So what's your read on this game here?
I would say this is Valkyries or no bet at all. We've talked about this several times on this show, but they have a great home court advantage. Golden State arguably has the best. If I were to look at their record, they're 7-3 at home. They're 13-7 overall against the spread. One of the better teams in the W. One of the best surprises. And those are two big missing pieces that Phoenix won't be having tonight. And I think, in the NBA, conversely, if you miss 1 or 2 players, you kind of actually look at that team to see if there's any angles. For some odd reason in the NBA, when 1 or 2 guys are out, people step up and people are trying harder, and maybe there's a flat spot from the opponent as well. It's not like that with the WNBA, because I would say, the top 6 to 7 players in your rotation are so important for these teams, because the talent is not as deep as the NBA. And so if you miss 1 or 2 of them, it's actually a really big deal, in my opinion, in the WNBA. So I'm not saying just react to injury news and bet the other side, but there's a few components here where I do like Golden State. I'm not going to bet them. I like the under, and that's going to be an official play for me. It's 158 at Bet Rivers right now. It was 159 earlier. The fact that it's moving down is a good sign for me. But these two teams did meet in early June. They flew over in that one. It was set at 157 and it flew over, and today's only set at 158. I think that's a little telling from the books that they expect not only a competitive game, but a low scoring game. So put me on the under as an official play, Doug.
Okay, under 158 for the Mercury and the Valkyries. Obviously, Golden State known for its defense. Anybody watching the game late on Saturday in Vegas heard a great stat. I think they're like 1-10 or something straight up when they allow 80 points or so. So defense is their calling card. I will say this is more than a team that's just frisky to start the year. They have some talent and they play well, man. I've been really impressed with some of these. Now, I question even Becky Hammond and some of these others who left certain players unprotected. Indiana left Fagbenle unprotected instead of Nalissa Smith. And I was shocked when I saw that, in the summer. And then some of these other players are real skill, real talent. So, and, I can't say enough about Nakase as a coach. I think she's going to be unanimous coach of the year. I like him a lot, but I think the Mercury coach has done really well as well. So I think this will be a really good game, really smart game. It's just going to be, make or miss kind of league, that kind of thing with especially Sammy Whitcomb. If she's bombing and doing stuff like that, you got to be careful. But the Valkyries will be ready. They're just so much better as a home dog, right? Like we took a little bit of a gamble on them as a short road dog, and they're about 500. But home dog is when they're at their best. I think it's a good spot. But you're right. I'm Valkyries are pass, but I am ultimately a Valkyries pass right now. They've lost 3 of 4. And the win they had at Indiana was eye-opening. That was that egg that I was discussing. But I don't know. Maybe teams are taking it more seriously. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, but they have talent, but they don't have as much talent as other teams.
And when they did meet, these two teams met, early June, I think I think the Valkyries had more players missing because of, Eurobasketball than Phoenix. I think like 5 of their players were out that game as well. So it's going to be hard to use that game as a benchmark to help, handicap this one. The one thing I'd be cautious about when it comes to the Valkyries tonight is this is their first game off of a really, really long road trip. So they've been, traveling the country for basically a week and a half. This is their first game back. Um, you know, just like the NBA, these players have to, get the dog. They have to get their dry cleaning. They have to meet their, family and friends. They have to do stuff that are, that impact them off the court. So that's one thing to think about. But Golden State is such a great home team, and you mentioned it, very well coached. And I think the fact that they came into the season with a chip on their shoulder because they're an expansion team, right? Everybody overlooked them, makes them a lot more hungry and motivated to play well, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I still like the under here, but probably going to pass on the side for now.
I don't disagree with that. And for what it's worth, they gave up 100 points to the Aces, but there's no Asia Wilson playing tonight for Phoenix, and she had 34 points. I will say it was a first home game for Vegas as well. After a long road trip, longtime professional bettor has since passed. Dave Malinsky would always talk about that. So it's a Malinsky special, as we like to call in the underworld of betting. And so it is a good spot in that regard as the dogs go wild. Okay. Just a reminder, it's the Open Championship this week, also known as the British Open, depending on your preference for calling it that. Bet Rivers is offering a pre-tournament boost, 30% profit boost for the Open Championship. Opt in and get a 30% profit boost on any pre-tournament wager on the Open. See the Bet Rivers app for full details on this offer. So really good stuff. And I love the time change. You get a little action at different hours that you're used to. It's always good. So anything, you got a 30% profit boost. So go check it out via the Bet Rivers apps. NBA Summer League in Las Vegas, alive and well. There's certain things that have become so popular, whether it's the cameos by superstars who are there in the attendance, coaches, things like that, and then also breakout players. And I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, Cooper Flagg not playing anymore after, eyeballs were certainly on them opening night against the Lakers with Bronny James, but there's been some wild games. We've seen some crazy scores, then some crazy scores the other direction. And it is funny. You'll see a game in the 160s. You'll see 2 teams over 100. I mean, I guess that happens in the NBA, but they just don't make the same shots. Like Knicks and Celtics each shot under 20% from downtown yesterday. So it was pretty wild. What stood out to you over the weekend?
I mean, Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. I thought that game was really good. Cooper Flagg, although he had 31 points, it wasn't impactful 30 points, if you will, because he scored 10 of those basically in garbage time, hitting threes, trying to keep the game close. But I was actually very impressed with Dylan Harper. The pace that he plays at, he's very composed. I think he's going to be a good NBA player that can run an offense. And I think even though the Spurs, the big team, the big club, made the trade for De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper can definitely play a lot of point guard himself and can run that pick and roll. So that was the biggest thing that caught my eye. I mean, Cooper Flagg was amazing in the second half, trying to dunk everything, which is really cool to see. The number 1 pick, like it was very similar to the Zion year when he was in Vegas, and he was like just taking it to Kevin Knox. I don't know if you remember that game against the Knicks. He stole the ball from off the rebound and dunked it on Knox, and it just got the crowd wild. And I saw Cooper Flagg. He has that flair too, even though he's really quiet out there on the court.
Yeah, no, I do not know that game against Knox, but you mentioned it before the summer league took place. You said that they're always respectful of each other's injury potential. So if there's a breakaway dunk, they allow it. The guys let it go, but they play hard defense in the half court. So I thought that was a very astute observation. One team that surprised me a lot is Boston. I thought their roster was a little shaky, and they've had convincing wins back-to-back games. Now they played yesterday and they played tonight again. So no rest here, no quick turnaround for them. Brad Stevens is in charge of challenges, and I got burned on an over yesterday because he challenged a game in a 15-point game in the fourth quarter. that took away a hoop and harm as a charge. And it was a goaltending that was, one of those long high layups off the glass, and the defender swore he got it before it touched the backboard, and the defender was right. He challenged it, so it cost me 2 points. And so these are things that stand out. Is Brad Stevens is in charge of challenges. He wants the assistants who are stepping in, acting head coach. We have Clippers Lakers late night as the marquee game. Lakers 1.5-point favorites, 180.5. Anything stand out to you on this entire slate? I've been a little gun shy after stumbling out of the gates, but I will say the Celtics are a team that I kind of want to bet on instead of bet against. I know they've caught my eye, but they're also 6.5-point favorites against the Heat.
Yeah, let's start with that game. It's second night of a back-to-back for Boston, and it's summer league, so it's also shorter games. So I don't know if fatigue is even a factor, but 6.5 is a really big spread for summer league. So I don't know how I feel about that. I know that the graphic right now has 5.5. There you go. It's updated to 6.5, juiced to Boston. So that game is probably a layoff for me. I don't know too much about the Miami Heat summer league roster. I do like Lakers in the nightcap, though. I like the Lakers to take care of business and beat the Clippers. I know it's a short spread, which I kind of stay away from, but if you want to just do the money line, which is -132 on Bet Rivers today, I think I just like the Lakers as a summer league team from a narrative perspective, Doug. Like, it feels like the league is going to want to keep the marquee, franchises and teams as summer league continues, so conversation can continue.
All right, so Clippers are 2-0, one of about 8 teams or so that are undefeated, maybe 10 teams that are undefeated at 2-0. Spurs have been the most dominant with the highest point differential of +24. Celtics, though, +13.5. And again, they were terrible shooting the ball, and they still managed 94 points. So, do the math. There's going to be some aggression from the shooting. They shot under 20% from 3, but they had a very high-paced game. So the question is, will they get there with the Heat? I'm going to play the over in this game, 173.5. I just think the Celtics offense has been really sharp. I think their players, I'm not worried about tired legs like you mentioned. Jordan Walsh and Shireman should be fine. They were guys who had high shot attempts, and I just think, like I said, they're taking this seriously. If Brad Stevens is in charge of challenges, they're not messing around. They want to extract the best from their roster. Look at the varsity team, if you will, without Jason Tatum for maybe the entire season. They're going to have to find some hidden gems on this team. So I do like the over 173.5. So I'll make that an official play for me on the summer league game. Do you want to take the Lakers here on the money line?
Yeah, give me the Lakers and also give me the Jazz. So the Jazz are coming off a loss where they gave up 103 points to Golden State Warriors. But the Jazz, we talked about this during the Utah Summer League. They have some really good players on this roster. Cody Williams still playing, Filipowski still playing, obviously Ace Bailey. I think he's sitting out this game, but there's a couple really good, big league contributors on Utah, and I think they do get a bounce back today. And I think the spread there is +2.5. So they're playing the Spurs, Dylan Harper.
3.5, actually.
3.5. Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. Give me the Jazz and the Lakers.
So I mentioned the Spurs have the largest point differential of any team. They've been electric out of the gates. Utah, and by the way, Cody Williams, Jalen Williams' brother, J. Will, the Scottie Pippen to SGA's Jordan, fresh off a huge contract as well this summer. So it's been a good summer for the Williams family, but Cody's the younger brother who came out and was I believe, a 5-star recruit that went to Colorado. Jalen was not as big of a recruit, had to go to Santa Clara. And then J. Will, his brother, or J. Dub, I should say, has done really well. Maybe Cody emerges, so he's the younger brother. Both were studs out of a high school in Arizona. And, just getting to the NBA, obviously, defying the odds and what they've accomplished. So Cody Williams has the bag, if you will. Going up against the Spurs team, it's a little dangerous. No, or you're not too worried about just grabbing a short amount of points of a team that's been really just a complete disruptor in the summer league.
I like to zag when people are zigging, and I think the Spurs being the most dominant team so far and only 3.5-point favorites is a tell in my book. So I like Utah in this one. Again, it's summer league play right? Summer league, Doug. So I'm not going to do a full unit. These are probably quarter units or half unit bets. But I do like Utah just because that line to me, the way I read it is the fact that the Spurs are far and away the best team and they're blowing everyone out, and Jazz are just a 3.5 point underdog. I also look at the roster from a talent standpoint, from a name notoriety standpoint. The Utah Jazz, like I mentioned, have a really good team, and I think the fact that you're going to have these not starters. Maybe some of them are going to start during the year on their big club, but they're solid contributors. They're all going to play 15, 20, 25 minutes with the big Utah Jazz team.
Okay, so I agree. And they were the team that beat the Mavs by like 7 when Cooper Flag had 31. So I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. It's a lean to the under for me, but something to keep in mind for that one. I will have a game. I'm waiting for it to be posted. I will have a strong wager tomorrow in Summer League. So please check in on the show. I'll be with Sarah. And I'm hoping that the over under of a game comes out what I want because I'm going to be involved in that game. So keeping track of a few angles, talking to some sharp guys out in Vegas, guys who are really tracking this, and we're going to go from there. But I do think there are opportunities. You just got to pick your spots. So a couple plays for you in Lakers money line, right, Albert?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you have the same game parlay at -105 that we like in the WNBA. So there's good opportunities. It's fun. It's like you said, pull back the units for the summer league. It happens, and they're all on national television, whether it be ESPN, ESPN2, or NBA TV. So there's a lot of good content on there. And I mentioned the promo 30% boost for the British Open. Don't forget, we also have tennis. Yes, Wimbledon was this past weekend, but we have much more. Betting Weekly Game Bet Match and Betting Weekly WTA. Those shows were just released this morning. They preview the tennis action all week that is now on the clay courts again. So good content there, good betting opportunities. Nigel and the crew do a wonderful job. And also the newsletter's fantastic. As Bet Rivers odds everywhere, links to shows like this one, has recaps of picks as well and breakdowns in tennis and soccer. So that's awesome. Go check that out. bettingweeklystudios.com. So a lot of good content everywhere. Summer used to be dead, especially the All-Star break, the slowest time of year, right? Oh no. We got WNBA, we got Summer League, we got a bunch of stuff. And then of course there's prep time for the British Open, which gets going overnight in a few days. But that's going to do it for this show. Like I said, I'll have a Summer League play tomorrow. Sarah will be in as well. And we're at baseball show. Hardball is obviously dark for a couple days, but Betting Weekly Hardball does return on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Albert, I know you'll be back on this show later, and we'll do some more breakdowns. But good luck to your wagers. Good luck to everyone else out there. And for Albert and everyone else behind the scenes who does all the heavy lifting, I'm Doug Kezirian, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.